Hi, folks. Tom here. Before we begin this episode, I just wanted to let you know that the deadline for the MedTech Innovator program is closing on March 31st. If you are the CEO of a privately held med device company and you want to pitch at the upcoming Device Talks Boston event, you need to go to medtechinnovator.org and fill out an application by March 31st. Go to medtechinnovator.org. You'll get all the information you need there. And please, please, please apply before March 31st. We'd love to see you in Boston. All right, you ready for this?
Ready.
Hi, everyone. This is Tom Salemi. Welcome to this episode of the Device Talks Weekly podcast. I did say last week that we wouldn't have an episode this week, but I had an opportunity to speak with Yuri Lebed. He's the CEO of Pharmaxy LLC, which is a CRO. It's a CRO based in Ukraine. And I spoke with Yuri about his experience, about his evacuation from his home in Kyiv, and the move to Lebed, where he's now located on the western part of the country, and about how he's enduring this invasion, how Ukraine is enduring this invasion, and most amazingly, how he's working to keep clinical trials operating in Ukraine, how hospitals are ready to resume trials in the western part of the country, and how regulators in Ukraine are promising to act on submissions. So really an inspirational story. Once again, I had the chance to speak with Yuri and didn't want to let the opportunity slip by. So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. I know you'll enjoy, or at least appreciate, this conversation. And I'm really grateful to Yuri for taking the time to share his story. And actually, I found it to be quite uplifting and hopeful. And with the rest of you, I'm hoping for a quick and peaceful resolution to this invasion. So thanks, Yuri Lebed, for joining us in the podcast. Before we begin, I did want to remind you we'll be meeting at Device Talks Boston on May 10th and 11th. You can register for that at devicetalks.com. You can see the agenda, the speaker lists, everything on there. Also on devicetalks.com, you can find the speaker list for Device Talks Minnesota, which is happening on June 6th and 7th. If you want to register to one or both of those meetings, please use the code DTW. It stands for Device Talks Weekly, DTW25, and that'll save you 25% off the registration price. All right, no more delay. I'd like to bring in Yuri Lebed, the CEO of Pharmaxy. Well, Yuri Lebed, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
So normally we'll start our podcast interviews asking someone about their career, their long background, and I want to get into that in a second. But I'd like to understand, maybe you could give us an account of the last 3 weeks for you, with obviously the invasion by Russia. It's a horribly disrupted life in the Ukraine. What has your life been like for the last 3 weeks?
Okay, so I would start from the beginning, and I would say that finally within the last 6 months, we've started really good progression, and we've had many new requests to our CRO, and we hired many people to clinical operations, to data management department, and it was like a very, very good time when we started really good growth in the past 6 months. And starting from the early January, there were rumors and news that Russians focusing and concentrating military forces along our borders, and there is a chance that they will invade. But it is not the first time during the past 6 years when they try to blackmail us, to make some pressure on us or on Europe. And personally, I was thinking that now Ukraine is much stronger than 8 years ago when Russians invaded to Ukraine. I cannot understand any reasonable idea and any win that can be achieved by Russians, by Putin, by them. And I was thinking that it is only emotional pressure. And I didn't believe until the last day that it will really happen. And my friend called me 23rd in the evening, and he asked me Yuri, what do you think? Maybe you have to relocate right now with your family. And they said that, no, I don't really believe that it will start. So I'm really relaxed and nothing will be happened. But I woke up in the morning, 24th, when my wife told me that war is started. And then I heard explosion somewhere, and it was long distance missile rocket which hit electric station nearby our house, and it was a stress. And then we tried to define, are we in a safe position or not? And until 6 p.m., I was trying to identify where will be the safest place. Will that be my house, or we have to go somewhere? And then I decided to relocate to Lviv, and then we will have big problem trying to find fuel, because many cars started towards western border, and gas stations were empty. My first task was to understand how to find the fuel in this situation. And I decided that I have to go to Kyiv from my city, but not out of Kyiv. And, because everyone tried to go out of Kyiv, gas stations were empty, and no one goes to Kyiv, this situation. And it was a clue when I found fuel, and then I've got fully packed by fuel, and then I started my way towards to Lviv, and I've spent 24 hours driving to Lviv instead of 7 hours.
It's normally 7-hour trip normally?
7 hours.
So yes. It was 24 because of just the traffic,
Yeah, traffic jam. And they were created several roadblocks, and it was a huge traffic jam where these blocks were located.
Wow. You were based in Kyiv and moved to safety in the western part of the country in Lviv. What has your life been like in Lviv? You're in the western part of the country. Are you encountering any of the invasion or the war at this point, or are you still hearing things and are they still feeling an impact from the invasion?
The biggest discovery for me was that when rocket hit somewhere around, I lost the feeling of the physical safety. And this is a very, very special feeling, it is a pressure on my mind, and you cannot think about different things. You cannot have a rest. And my friends told me that they cannot sleep. So it is vital. When we transferred to Lviv, it was like relaxed time. We hear somewhere here sirens, but nothing destroyed around. And now shops are opened and crowded streets here. So the life is almost as usual in western part of Ukraine. And the biggest thing here is that here I feel physical safety, and I can sleep well, and I can work productively all the time. So it is a basic level of the emotional balance to operate efficiently.
And I'm realizing as I'm asking you these questions, I've never interviewed someone in your situation before in a country that's been militarily invaded. So when I ask a question, it sounds almost like one of my normal questions I ask about someone's business. But I mean, of course, you're feeling an impact from an invasion in your country. So it's unbelievable to even talk about. So let's talk about your company. Talk us a bit about this is where I normally would ask someone about their career. You're CEO of Pharmaxy, a full service CRO. How did you get into the sort of the clinical testing business? How long have you been in the life sciences business?
I'm a medical doctor, and when I graduated medical university, I decided to go to the scientific field. I decided to go to a scientific career, and I made my PhD thesis in diabetes mellitus. After that, it was a big decision because in Ukraine, scientists are not well paid, and many young PhD students and PhD people with PhD degrees, they immediately relocate to Europe in order to get good salaries. But I decided to build something in Ukraine 15 years ago. I stayed here and I created a company which was focused on IT solutions, and we have developed IT solutions. And then we created electronic data capture system for clinical trials.
Mm-hmm.
And 8 years ago, we launched Pharmaxy as EDC focused or data management centered clinical trial company like CRO. And now we can make clinical trials from the very beginning. And when client approach to us and say, we have this product or medical device or this drug, and we have this goal and we have nothing, and then our experts try to understand the product, develop study design, synopsis, protocol, and we unfold this project full scale to come to the final result and MDR registration of the medical product in Europe or somewhere else. So it is our general idea. When client approach to us, we say them, okay, we will manage everything. And then we will manage subcontractors, logistic partners, storage depot, custom brokerage company. So we would like to give them everything from one hands.
And do you operate exclusively within Ukraine, or do you work in other countries as well?
We operated exclusively in Ukraine, but now we register company in Poland. And we will launch Pharmaxy Poland in order to deliver our services in EU.
So can you identify clients that you work with? If you can't give names, I'm not sure if you can. Can you at least tell me, are they larger medical device companies, larger pharma companies, smaller companies? What does a typical client of Pharmaxy look like?
You know, we have several projects with big pharma, Sanofi, Takeda, MSD are our clients, and we also operate with medical device company, and one big German company provided to us their rapid test for COVID-19, and we create everything in Ukraine, starting from study design development, site selection, data collection, final study report development, everything. And this device was successfully registered in Germany. So we have this experience. Unfortunately, they do not allow us to say the name of this company. But yes, we have this experience with big medical device company. We have many projects with small startups. One company invented something, medical device, and then they know nothing about regulatory framework, about clinical evidence, about technical documentation. So in many cases, medical device industry and startups, they do not understand the whole complexity of regulatory framework in this space. We provide them consultancy, we provide them some kind of gap analysis in order to understand what have to develop within their technical documentation or preclinical or clinical documentation. And in the end, our goal is to provide them everything to be registered, but registration is not our focus. So we start from the idea of the clinical application of the medical device. The endpoint is that when we provide clinical evidence and clinical documentation.
So are you working with individual hospitals and medical centers that are running the trials? Are you sort of the one on the feet on the ground, the people in the room, ensuring, overseeing the clinical trials in the clinical settings?
Yeah. We operate as a conventional CRO.
Okay.
So we select sites, we perform monitoring, data cleaning, and training for study sites, and we organize this range of different vendors providing logistic services, storage, insurance, and other things.
So what impact has this invasion had on your ability to perform trials?
The biggest impact on-site activities. So clinical study sites or hospitals do not want to continue in many cases.
Sure.
But fortunately, during the last week, several study sites informed us that they are ready to go and they're ready to continue. These study sites are located in the western part of Ukraine. Mm-hmm. They feel safe, and everyone in Ukraine now knows that Russians will not go to the western part. They have not enough forces to block Kiev. They have problems on eastern border of Ukraine. So western part will be not definitely interesting for them. And here life became more closer to usual pace. For us, the fact is that sites try to be more active and clinics try to reactivate study sites is really beneficial.
Wow, that's remarkable. I mean, I live in an area where when we get snow, everyone sort of gets all nervous and fidgety, and to be able to operate, keep things at a normal level when all that is going on is remarkable. So what impact, how are you adjusting your company? You mentioned the registration in Poland. Was this something you were planning to do initially, or are you safeguarding against, God forbid, more disruption within Ukraine, that you want to have sort of another presence where you can continue to operate?
Truly speaking, I was thinking about presence in EU, but I haven't found any good and solid arguments to start this procedure. And when we start communication with our Western clients, Canadian, US clients, it was not a problem for them to operate and to cooperate with Ukrainian company. And I haven't seen any reasonable arguments to register legal entity in EU. But now I think that it is a very good risk mitigation strategy because clients continue to ask us, guys, could you really provide us any guarantees that you will finalize our current trials in Ukraine? And we can say, no, we trust that everything will be good, but we cannot guarantee that. Mm-hmm. And we propose them, guys, we will open up a company in Poland, and then on-site activities will be linked to Europe, to Poland, and it will be a guarantee that we will finalize this project so we can continue. Fortunately, clients are really flexible and they do not stop their projects, and they say, okay, if you can manage it, why not? We can use data from Polish study sites.
Have you had to, I imagine you've had to halt some trials that you were working on?
Yeah, several trials are on hold. Yeah. And clients are now waiting for the resolution and for the improvement. But it was very interesting talk with one of our current sponsor. And for this is a study for multiple sclerosis investigation. We were really close to regulatory submission in Ukraine. And to our surprise, our regulatory authority says that we can continue. And yes, we are located in Kiev, and Kiev is bombarding almost every night. Yeah. But we're ready to make submission, to make expertise of clinical trial documents. We can go as always, maybe not so fast, but please, you can make submission.
Wow.
Yeah. They are heroes. Yes. I informed our sponsor that we can make submission, and they said that, but we don't know how the situation will be improving. But I said we will have 60 days for initial submission and additional 30 days for some answers to the question arose from the regulatory agency. So we will have 90 days, and I suppose that everything will be clear in 3 months.
Wow, that's amazing. How should medical device companies or medical device executives who are hearing this, who have trials to run, what would you tell them? I know the post that I saw on LinkedIn, the suggestion was that you had bandwidth to take on new projects, that Pharmaxy was moving forward strongly. I mean, are you finding it difficult to find new companies that will sponsor trials, or are you finding people who are interested in continuing to work with you? What is the challenge you're facing? And I guess how can folks listening sort of help you if it fits their strategic, whether or not, I guess, it fits their strategic objective?
The miracle is that now I can establish new connections much easier than before. And incredible support from Western world, and this openness, and everyone wants to support somehow. And it is incredible, because when I tried to establish new connections 2 years ago, it was a big problem because everyone is busy and it is not a priority. And this is like a wall. But today, many people are open. And now I would say that I have several vendor evaluation procedure, and several companies started evaluation of us to provide them medical writing, statistical services, and data management services. We can do it remotely, and they now qualify us. And we even listed top 3 activities which will be requested soon. And it is incredible. So I think that we will start several projects in this direction, and it will really stabilize our company. And I hope that once we will create Polish legal entity, maybe we can start communication with the industry and with sponsor about full-scale clinical trial.
How big is Pharmaxia now?
30 people.
30 people, all in Ukraine?
Now, 25 are located in Ukraine, and 5 of us relocated to Europe. But we are now connected, and every morning we have stand-up calls, and in order to understand where we are and do we have good working space, we suspend our activities within first 4 days of the invasion. And then we restarted our projects, and now we are fully operational because COVID-19 accommodated us to a decentralized operations.
I was thinking that it was an unfortunate sort of practice run to learn how to. We all learned how to work remotely and not be in the office. So I'm sure it prepared you at least for that part of this. The perception we have here in the West is that everyone basically has dropped what they were doing, and they're involved somehow in the effort to repel the invasion. Is that a misperception as to how involved? I mean, you have a company, you're running it, you have people who are running it with you. You're saying life seems to be somewhat normal in Lebed. People are still living their lives and moving forward and living, it seems, as normally as they can, and keeping businesses running and keeping life going in a somewhat normal fashion. Sorry, it's a long question, but again, this is a new topic to talk about. How involved are most people in the defense of Ukraine?
One man, and actually it is our IT guy who developed our electronic data capture system. And he was called to the army, and now he will be fighting with a rifle for Ukraine, So one man is there, and 2 people from our company, they joined to local territory forces, and it is also good joint and good forces which really stabilize country in region when regular big army are not coming. So it is very supportive for our resistance. I would like to say that some of us are working in a safe and quiet place, but several people stays in Kyiv, and they just work. They create some intellectual product when they hear fire bombings and artillery shots. This is now sounding around Kyiv because Russians are now 30 kilometers away from Kyiv.
That's amazing. I mean, just as you mentioned, the pandemic, we all sort of had a concern for others. Every time we talk to them, I hope you stay healthy. I hope you stay well. This is so much more serious than that. I mean, to know that when you're talking with a colleague in Kyiv, I don't want to go too far to the round, but you must have it on your mind all the time that they're in danger, or at least potentially in danger.
Yeah.
So how can the medical device industry outside Ukraine sort of help? We have conversations on the podcast. We obviously contribute to humanitarian groups, but speaking as a business owner in the pharma and the medical device industry, I guess, what would you like to tell those outside that are the best ways to support your efforts and the efforts of others in the life sciences industry in Ukraine?
For our company, the big support originated from the society, and in my LinkedIn, I never saw this reaction and hundreds of comments and hundreds of private messages when everyone says, guys, whatever you need, if you need relocation, if you need household for your family or apartments or everything, I have no separate apartments, but I have 2 rooms in my house, and I'm ready to propose it to you, to your employees. And I got many requests from different countries, from Germany, from Spain, from Italy, from Belgium, and it is really supportive. And one employee of our company, and she is our quality manager, and she relocated to Germany, and she has no space to live after that. Our partner from our Pharmaxi partnership network proposes us to provide their home. It was really helpful for this family, and it is vital for them. So this support is really important. And now we have started conversations about practical collaboration, about our involvement in statistical tasks for medical devices, for clinical evaluation plan and report. We are communicating with several companies who would like to support us and where we can provide good services. And I would say that our Ukrainian rates are significantly lower than European rates. And here I'm looking for win-win interaction when we provide good services for reasonable prices, and company will get good product or document.
Had you considered leaving the country at all?
No, I think that I have to be here until the end, you know, and legally I cannot cross border right now, but right. From my internal feeling, now I am focusing on the company, and I would like to keep company as an operational unit, and I don't want to fire anyone, and I have to make more connection with companies, reactivate current projects. So I have to do many things to stabilize company. But if they will go to Lviv and the Russian will be everywhere, I will forget about company and I will fight with Russians because it is our independency, and it is a biggest call for all of us. And fortunately, we have many brave people, and they died already, and 1,000 soldiers, I suppose, now died in this war. But they stopped Russian invasion, and they have no chances to occupy Kiev, and they have no chances to destroy our independency. And this initial plan of Putin to put someone like a puppet to president chair and to manage Ukraine from the Moscow. So this dream is not valid anymore. And this is because of the brave people, and obviously because of Western support and those 20 aircrafts with weapon, with javelins, with NLAW from Great Britain. It was essential to stop hundreds of tanks which tried to occupy Kiev.
The final question, I mean, it sounds as if we all obviously are hoping for a quick ceasefire and withdrawal and the ability for Ukraine to rebuild itself. I mean, it sounds as if you've got, through all of these connections and outreach, that going forward, you feel that your company and I guess your country, I would hope, will be in a position to grow back better than you were. You have a lot of the tools and connections you need to recover from this.
Yes. I think that we continue our current projects. We create a rescue plan for them to involve and to enroll new patients in Poland. I believe that we start projects to load our medical writing, statistic, and data management department. So even now, when we have 26 days of the war, I can see that we will be stabilized. In the end, I suppose that we will be even stronger than before because we will have a presence in EU. And when we will propose our services as Ukrainian CRO, it will be a completely different story. And Ukraine is now on top of the mind of the all civilized people. European people are thinking about us, and I hope that Ukraine will have more brighter future than it was before.
Well, that's an amazing statement. You are constantly in our minds, and Ukraine is in our hearts. We're following what's going on over there and really hoping for a quick resolution and an opportunity for Ukraine to recover from this and to build back. So really, I'm grateful for the time you spent telling your story, Yuri, and thank you for appearing on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. And thank you for your question. And I feel this empathy, and it is really provokes a really deep thinking and feelings in your mind. I suppose that, yes, this is the very unusual situation. Yes, maybe we will try to say to the world that even in this hard situation, we can stay, we can be positive, and we can believe in the bright future.
Very well said. Thank you, Yuri.
Thank you.
All right, well, that is a wrap. Thank you again, Yuri Lebed, for joining us in the podcast. As I said in the interview, it was really surreal to be talking about invasions and military forces when I'm usually talking about market sizes and technologies. So I'm really glad, though, I had the chance to speak with Yuri. And as I said at the top, I found the conversation to be hopeful and inspirational, and I hope you did too. So thank you to you all for joining us in this episode of the Device Talks Weekly podcast. We'll be back next week with Chris Newmarker and his Newmarker's Newsmakers. We should have a special guest in the booth with us, so looking forward to that conversation. Finally, don't forget Device Talks Boston is happening May 10th and 11th. Device Talks Minnesota is happening June 6th and 7th. Go to devicetalks.com to register for either, and you can use the code DTW25 to save 25% off the registration prices. Finally, please do share this podcast on social media. And when you do, please connect to me. I am on Twitter at MedTechTom. I am on LinkedIn, Tom, Salemi. You can also connect with my co-host, Chris Newmarker. He's on Twitter at Newmarker, and on LinkedIn, Chris Newmarker, as in a new marker. So please do share this podcast episode with your colleagues and contacts. Please do connect with us on social media. And please do subscribe to the Device Talks Weekly podcast channel. And please do subscribe to the Device Talks Podcast Network. You will receive future episodes of the Device Talks Weekly podcast, of the Intuitive Talks podcast. And the next episode will come out on Monday. I pushed it back a day. So we had room to send out Device Talks, and you'll also receive our newest podcast, Striker Talks. We have one episode that went out. We'll have another one coming out in a couple of weeks. And again, subscribe to Device Talks. It's available on every major podcast application. You can also subscribe to Medtronic Talks, so you can receive future episodes of the Medtronic Talks podcast. We just sent out an episode of the Medtronic Talks podcast this week, so you can find that again on all major podcast players. On devicetalks.com, all the podcasts are there. And you can also find these episodes on respective company pages on Medtronic.com, on Stryker.com. So we're out there. I hope you're enjoying these podcasts. And thanks again for joining us on this episode of the Device Talks Weekly Podcast.